If you're lost while in the mountains, look for some plants and take cover in a cave. If you make a fire, you won't freeze to death during the night. If you go to school in a dangerous neighborhood, put your backpack inside your t-shirt. The thieves will think you're really fat and will not rob you. If you're an idiot and you're vegan, don't go to a barbecue with your friends. You won't eat anything and they will laugh at you. If you're alone and super thirsty but you find dirty water, search and grab a lot of bamboo sticks. If you filter the water through the hole in the rods, you'll get clean and drinking water.
If you're lost underwater and don't know which way is up, release a little bit of air and follow the bubbles. They will guide you to the surface. If you're going to sleep, always keep your car keys near your bed. If a thief tries to break into your house, you can press the alarm button and scare them away. If you're trapped in a car, remove the headrest and use the metal rods to smash the corner of the window. This is the weakest part and will break it. If a thief breaks into your house, start telling them your sad life story. They will get bored and leave you alone.
If you pluck a hair from your head, it could hold around 40 coins without breaking. But if you braid half of all of your hair into a rope, it would have the strength to hold the weight of a truck. And if you used all of your hair to make a rope, it could support around 15 tons, which is about the weight of a young blue whale. If you find yourself in a room with walls closing in very slowly, most people would immediately begin to panic. But that will only waste your time and energy. Instead, look for a mechanism or button that might stop the walls. If you can't find one, use a strong object to wedge between where the walls are moving, with the objective of blocking the movement. If that doesn't work, try to climb quickly and look for a gap above the walls where you can escape the deadly force.
By accident, you put the milk in before the cereal because you're way too tired. Do this and you'll be able to sleep better. After you finish school and playing on your phone, it is time for dinner. Remember, you really need to stop eating a full 2 hours before going to bed. On the other hand, 30 minutes before going to sleep, stop using your phone and turn on airplane mode. However, how do I set my alarm if I don't have the phone? Go buy yourself a real clock with an alarm. Finally, put up dark curtains to block out the light. Don't drink water before sleeping and subscribe to Big Dan Baby.
How to figure out the answer to any question on an exam. What you're not going to do is answer the question. If you're stuck, put a star and move on with the exam. You need to become a detective and use other questions to figure out the answer. For example, who discovered America? You're not sure what the answer is, but 10 minutes later, you find another question. In what year did Christopher Columbus discover America? Now you know that the answer to the first question is Christopher Columbus. Have you ever wondered why the Mona Lisa is so famous? I mean, if you really look at it, it's a pretty simple painting. So why is it so famous and worth billions of dollars? Well, it all started with a crime. In 1911, the Mona Lisa was stolen, and its disappearance became world news. After 2 years, it was finally found, and everyone went to Paris to see the famous stolen painting. The surgeon removed a large piece of the man's skull, with the intention of reinserting it later during brain surgery. A few weeks later, his brain managed to recover, and it was time to put the piece of skull back. But the doctors couldn't find it. Instead of it, they used a plastic implant, which later caused an infection in his head, and forced him to undergo another surgery. Even so, the hospital charged him $19,000 for the plastic prosthetic. Now, the man is suing the hospital for being idiots, asking for compensation for his suffering and the medical mistakes. If you live in a rough area, wear poor-looking clothes that are very dirty. The thieves will pity you and they won't rob you. If someone is looking at your phone, open the front camera. The snoop will see themselves on the phone and look ridiculous. If a killer enters your house, turn off the lights and put pillows inside the bed. The killer will think you're sleeping and you'll catch him. If you see that your car has a broken window, don't go in and call the police. There's a homeless person living inside your car. A woman found an AirTag in her purse and started panicking in fear. She started wondering who had hidden it there and why she was being followed. Scared, she called Alex, one of her best friends. He arrived within minutes and calmed her down, telling her everything was fine. Taking the AirTag from the hands of her friend, he googled how to destroy it and found that smashing it with a hammer was the best option. The two went to the backyard and the man smashed the AirTag, helping the woman calm down, but only for now.
You fall asleep on an IKEA sofa and the store closes. Do this to survive. Avoid the cashier areas and employee offices. That's where most of the cameras are, and they'll think you broke in to steal. If you get hungry, go to the food area. There's a lot of food that's impossible to eat, but there are also hundreds of sandwiches that you don't have to cook. If you get cold, go to the blanket section and put them all on, even though you'll look like a Viking. If you get bored, you can go to the video game area and play until you get tired. But if you hear strange noises, don't make any sound. A little girl died in IKEA and her ghost still haunts the place. You're afraid to sleep alone and the beds are awful. Build a fort with the boxes between the aisles so the employees won't bother you the next morning. If there's an earthquake and you get trapped, don't scream. Instead, pee on yourself, so the rescue dogs can find you by the smell. If you go to the bathroom and see that your urine is red, go see a doctor. Your stomach has become infected and you are bleeding internally. If you commit a crime and are placed under house arrest, become a homeless person. They can't keep you locked up in your house if you don't have a house. If you're sleeping and see a toilet in your dream, don't use it. When you wake up, you will have peed yourself.
Your teacher announces the best and worst grades from the last test. It turns out you got the highest grade. Here's what you did. When I was in college, I decided to try a trick called memory. I took my notes, and the night before a test, I went over my own notes for 30 minutes. Then I put away my notes. I grabbed a new piece of paper and wrote down all I could remember. When I finished, I used a red pen to fill the blanks with everything I had missed. I repeated the process until I knew everything and subscribed to BigDanBaby.
If you're in a building and about to use the elevator, don't get in if there are more than 8 people. The cables won't support the weight and you'll be crushed. If you get tied up and thrown into the sea, don't try to undo the knot with your teeth. You'll waste too much time and run out of air. First move your head to float, then untie yourself. If you're in a fire and there's smoke everywhere, cover your nose with a cloth and crawl on the ground. The clean air stays low and the toxic smoke rises. If you're on a plane that makes an emergency landing on water, don't inflate your life vest inside the plane. You could get stuck at the door and die while drowning. A child swallowed 31 magnets from a toy bracelet in 2016, which ended up getting stuck inside his stomach. If the magnets had connected, they could have damaged all his organs, causing severe harm and deadly infections. The doctors inserted a very thin tube with a camera through his mouth to reach the stomach, and they passed a powerful magnet through the tube to pull the metal balls out of the child's body, managing to save his life without any damage to his organs. If you come across a lot of stray cats, do not give them food. They'll think you have infinite food and they'll follow you to your house to live with you. If your front door is open and has scratch marks on the lock, lock the door completely and call the police. A group of thieves is trapped inside your house. If your car won't start, ask a friend to push the car. If the wheels are moving, the engine will be able to start. If you're gross and don't clean your hair, cut it off now. Your hair has rotted and it's the perfect home for lice. If you're dying of hunger, look for trees with soft and moist leaves. If you suck on them, you'll gain energy but they won't kill you. If you're home alone and you choke while eating, slam your body against a piece of furniture to generate force in your stomach and push the food out. If you need to put a message inside a bottle, don't write near the edges of the paper. The water could smudge the ink and erase the whole message. If you're arguing with your mum and you're really angry, stop yelling and write down everything you're thinking on paper. This will help you control your emotions so you can keep arguing more calmly. If you're on a plane and it starts shaking violently, do not panic. Just stare at the flight attendant. If they are calm, it means there's no real danger.
If you are at a party and your drink is a little salty, do not drink it. It's very likely that someone put drugs in. If someone is attacking you from behind, try to scratch him. You'll sure get a sample of his DNA in your nails. If you're kidnapped in a car and they force you to drive, crash your car accidentally, it is very likely they're not wearing a safety seatbelt. If you come face to face with a big lion, maintain your eye contact and walk backwards very slowly.
A cat jumped into a deep well full of dead animals in India, and its owner jumped in to save it. But he got trapped, and the corpses had filled the well with toxic gases. When he called for help, his son jumped into the well to rescue him, but he also got completely stuck. 3 other family members tried to help, jumping in one after the other, but all of them got trapped in the well. Finally, a 6th family member went down with a rope tied to his waist. He was rescued 10 hours later by a group of people who pulled the rope after hearing his screams. But the other 5 men had already died from suffocation due to the toxic gases in the well. The police found the ship's crew paralyzed by fear, with their mouths and eyes completely open, and their bodies deformed as if they had all seen something terrifying. The bodies had no wounds or injuries, but something terrible had happened that very same day. The ship sent a mysterious distress message, which ended with the following phrase, "I am dead." And just before boarding the ship, an explosion set the whole deck on fire, and the police were forced to evacuate. They managed to escape in the last second before the ship exploded and sank, taking all the evidence to the bottom of the sea.
If you're dumb and have lots of tattoos, hide them before you enter a dangerous neighborhood. Criminals might think you're part of an enemy gang and you'll get killed. If you're dying of hunger and find an animal corpse, don't eat it. Even if you cook the meat, it'll be full of bacteria and you'll die instantly. If you're on a plane and see a lot of black backpacks, quickly go and notify the pilot and analyze the passengers very carefully. They are terrorist bombs to blow up the plane. If it's raining but you're feeling very hot, run home and shower as soon as possible. There's a good chance it's actually acid rain that has burned your skin.
If you show your house to your new girlfriend, don't try to hide your true passion. She might think you're a weirdo, but you might also find the love of your life. If you're sentenced to prison but the judge wants a lot of money in exchange for your freedom, don't ever pay him. It could be an honesty test to trick you into looking corrupt. If you get a fish hook stuck in your finger, don't try to pull it out by tugging it backward. Instead, push it through and pass the barb with some pliers. If you have to sleep in the cold snow, look for a dead animal and sleep inside its body. Even if it's disgusting, you won't die from the cold during the night. How to always win at Jenga. Never start from the bottom. It's very likely that your opponents will do the same, and you'll knock over the tower on your turn. Don't remove the center pieces at the beginning of the game either. You'll be left with no options in the final turn. If a player has a difficult piece, make them laugh so they move, or let out a loud scream. They'll jump in surprise. On the other hand, if the tower has a few pieces in the middle, look for a block just below the weak spot. It's the most stable point and will come out easily. Finally, if you have a tricky block, hold your breath and push instead of pulling. If you push steadily, all the pieces will come out. Have you ever wondered why the spoon on the McFlurry has that shape? Well, a lot of people think it's a secret straw, but just trying it once is enough to see it doesn't work. The real reason for that shape is actually quite clever. You see, McDonald's didn't want to clean their machines every time they made a McFlurry, so they created a spoon that works as a mixer. If you're lost in the ocean, don't drink seawater. You will vomit and dehydrate. If you're lost in the mountains, look for plants and hide in a cave. If you make a fire, you won't freeze during the night. If you're a loser and you get bullied, make friends with a hobo. Homeless people are crazy and he'll defend you from the bully. If you're in a place you don't know and no one's using their phone, don't be an idiot and hide your phone. You're in a dangerous neighborhood and thieves will rob you. If you find money in another country, can you keep it? In Japan, if you return lost money to the police, you're entitled to 10% of the money as a reward if the owner shows up. However, many people in Japan never accept the reward out of honesty. Instead, the owner of the money will often thank the finder with a house gift or a dessert. But in Germany, whoever finds the lost money is entitled to Finderlohn, a 5% reward on the first $500 found, and 3% on anything above that once the owner claims it. However, what if no one claims the money? In most countries, if the owner doesn't claim the money, the person who finds it gets to keep it. However, if neither the owner nor the finder claims it, countries like the United States have a law known as bona vacante, which means the money is kept by the government, politicians, and the president.
The smartest kid in your class asks you for help because you did better in the last exam. Here's what you did. You explained to him that in the last exam, you tried your hardest to answer all the questions as quickly as possible. If you got completely stuck on a question, you randomly selected the answer and you wrote CG, complete guess. If you could only narrow down a question to 2 possible answers, you wrote EG, educated guess. After finally completing all the questions, you went back to the EGs and the CGs and subscribed to Big Dan Baby.
If you're at the gym and a stranger challenges you to a weightlifting competition, don't do it. They're filming a video for YouTube and you'll end up looking ridiculous. If you're sleeping in a hotel and hear strange noises, place a glass on the doorknob before going to bed. If someone tries to open the door, the glass will fall and you'll wake up instantly. If you're getting attacked by a great white shark, don't punch it in the nose. Your punch will be too weak. Instead, try pushing the shark's nose downward. If you're in a hot air balloon and it starts dropping too low, throw out as much weight as you can and aim for a safe landing spot. If you're driving and it's raining a lot, never drive on the white lines on the road. The paint is more slippery than the cement, and you'll lose control of your car. If you go into a bathroom for disabled people without permission, but the police see you, drop to the floor and drool while you talk. They'll think you're disabled and they'll leave you alone. If you're being bullied at school, do not tell the teacher. Everyone will say you're a snitch, and they'll beat you up much harder. If you want to jump from a high place at the beach, don't jump in the water without checking the sea floor. There could be hidden rocks and you'll break your bones. You start reading a book, but you realize you're going slower than a snail. Do this to read 5 times faster than normal. You need to stop sub-vocalizing. Don't repeat the words in your head as you read along. You can listen to music or use your finger while reading to help. But most importantly, try to see the words as images. Let your eyes and not your brain scan the word. Let's put it to the test. If you're going to watch a Real Madrid match but your seat is in the middle of the Barcelona fans, wear a Barca jersey and don't cheer for Real Madrid or you might get seriously beaten up. If there's a fight in your neighborhood, don't just stand there doing nothing. Record a video with your phone and upload it to YouTube to get rich. If you're walking in the middle of the night and run into an alien, don't tell anyone. Everyone will think you've gone crazy and have you locked up in an asylum. If your house is full of fire, touch the doorknob before opening any doors. If it's hot, there's fire behind it, so look for another way out. A man got stuck in the middle of a water slide. When he heard someone quickly sliding down the slide behind him, he started screaming as they slid down the slide. But the man couldn't move and ended up getting slammed hard in the back. The strong impact caused him to lose consciousness and pass out. He eventually woke up next to the pool with serious injuries to his head, back, and shoulders. The man eventually recovered but sued the water park for being stupid. In 1990, a pilot was blown out of the cockpit mid-flight, with only his legs keeping him from being completely ejected. The plane's windshield had mysteriously shattered, causing a sudden pressure drop in the cabin. A flight attendant managed to grab the pilot's legs while the co-pilot tried to slow down the plane's speed. His head kept hitting the roof of the plane, and the crew assumed he was already dead. Even so, they held onto his body to prevent it from being sucked out and possibly damaging one of the engines. 20 minutes later, the plane managed to land, and no one knows how the pilot actually survived.
In 2011, a woman found her dog choking in the living room of her house. Frightened, she rushed the dog to the vet, where it was given anesthetics. After leaving the dog, she returned home, but soon received a worried call from the vet. He had found a human finger stuck in the dog's throat. The veterinarian insisted the woman call the police. When the officers arrived, they searched the whole house and mysteriously found a thief lying unconscious, hiding in the closet, who was missing a finger. A baby fell into a small pipe in the backyard of her home, becoming trapped more than 7 meters underground. For 56 agonizing hours, the rescue team worked tirelessly to bring her to safety. They dug a parallel tunnel alongside the pipe and a cross tunnel to reach her, overcoming obstacles like stones and rocks along the way. After 24 hours, the rescue team started hearing the little girl singing a Winnie the Pooh song, a sign that she was still alive. Finally, a rescue medic managed to squeeze through the narrow tunnel and bring the girl to the surface, and the dramatic rescue turned little Jessica into a worldwide symbol of hope.
If you're on a date and you forget the name of the girl, go to Starbucks and buy her a coffee. When they hand out the drink, they'll call her name out loud and you won't look ridiculous. If you touch a cactus and your hand gets full of spine, apply white glue all over your hand and wait for it to dry. That way you can peel off the glue and remove all the cactus spines. If you're about to sign a contract but there's a small smudge on the paper, don't sign it. It could be the fine print with ridiculous condition. If you go to the doctor and notice he's typing while you're talking, be careful and look at his screen. He's Googling what you're saying because he has no idea what's wrong with you. When Pinocchio lies, his nose starts to grow. But what would happen if he says, "My nose is gonna grow"? Look, if it doesn't grow, it means he's lying, and therefore his nose will grow. But if his nose grows, that means Pinocchio wasn't lying, and therefore his nose should have never grown. Do you think Pinocchio is lying? If you're dirty and sleep over at a friend's house, never use his toothbrush. As well as being gross, you could catch diseases from his saliva. If it's your 3rd day with your new girlfriend, don't buy her an iPhone with your credit card. If she dumps you for another guy, you'll still be paying for the phone every month. If the police arrest you by mistake, don't insult the judge and shut your mouth. Anything you say can be used against you, and if you're innocent, they'll let you go. If you're using the airplane bathroom, do not flush the the toilet while you're sitting down. The toilet generates a vacuum suction so strong that you could get stuck. If you're at a party but don't know how to dance, wave your arms up and down and tell everyone it's the latest trendy TikTok dance. You'll stop looking ridiculous and everyone will copy you. If you're broke and you can't afford a phone, grab a piece of wood and tell everyone it's the latest eco-friendly iPhone. Everyone will think you're trendy and will try to copy you. If you're traveling through Argentina, do not say anything bad about Messi. Argentinians love Messi more than their own parents, and they'll beat you up bad. If you're ugly and don't have a girlfriend or money, take pictures with luxury cars and post them on Tinder. All the girls will want to go out with you, and you just have to pretend that your car's in the shop.
In 2009, a man fell behind a refrigerator unit at the supermarket where he was working at. He was completely trapped, but his cries for help were silenced by the loud noise made by the freezers. Days, weeks, and even months passed by with no news about him. It wasn't until 10 years later, while some builders were remodeling the abandoned supermarket, that they moved all the refrigerators and found the man's bones, next to several scratches on the walls with blood and bits of his nails.
If you're at the gym and a stranger challenges you to a weightlifting competition, don't try it. They're recording a video for YouTube and you'll look ridiculous. If you're sleeping in a hotel and hear strange noises, place a glass cup on the door handle before going to sleep. If someone tries to open the door, the glass will break and you'll wake up instantly. If you're getting attacked by a great white shark, don't punch it in the nose. Your punch will be too weak. Instead, try to push its nose downwards. If you're in a hot air balloon and it starts dropping too low, throw out as much weight as you can and aim for a safe landing spot.
Your poor friend's parents invite you to sleep over at their house. Do this so you don't look ridiculous. Hide your iPhone 19 before get in. Say hello to the whole family. Don't take pictures of the house or ask why their car has no wheels. And be careful. If you notice a bad smell, don't say nothing. The family could get upset. At dinner, don't ask for seconds even if they offer. You might be taking food away from another family member. On the other hand, you might be surprised that the bathroom is outside. Remember that they may not have toilet paper, so bring extra socks and don't touch anything else besides the door. Finally, never open the windows after midnight. It's very likely that a thief could break in and steal everything, leaving the family in ruins. If you are in a dangerous bathroom and need to poop, always leave one foot out of your pants. If someone tries to attack you, you'll be able to stand up and defend yourself against the thief. If you are going to declare your love in a public place, do not choose your favorite restaurant. If they reject you, you will look ridiculous and you will never want to go back there. If you are at a dinner and choke while eating, don't try to leave the table silently to avoid embarrassment. A lot of people die because they don't ask for help. It's better to just make the universal sign that you are choking. If you are going to travel by plane, always take a picture of your suitcase before takeoff. If the suitcase gets damaged along the way, you will have proof and they will give you a new suitcase. Where did colors come from? The color orange got its name from the fruit and not the other way around. 5,000 years ago, Egyptians started to call the precious stone blue, and the name was used for things of that color. 1,000 years ago in Japan, green and blue were called the same. Oh, they still confuse it today. That's why traffic lights in Japan are red, yellow, and blue. Purple was the first color created synthetically. A chemist created it by accident while mixing medicines. Pink was named after the flower, and only rich women used it in the 17th century. It was created by diluting the red of other pigments, and people only considered it a light red.
Do not shout on a mountain with a lot of snow. The vibration of your voice will bounce off the snow, causing an avalanche, and you'll die crushed. If you're dumb and are smoking in the jungle, do not throw the cigarette butts on the ground. The monkeys will learn to smoke and end up dying of cancer. Do not swim if you see white rocks in the sand at the beach. The water is so salty that the salt has separated into rocks, which will dehydrate your body. If you travel to the United States, never take a taxi at the airport. They're scammers who take advantage of innocent tourists to charge a lot of money.
If you blend all of the human beings in the world and mold them into a big ball, many people might think that it would be enormous. But is that really true? Well, humans don't actually take up much space when they're compressed. In total, the 8 billion people on the planet mashed together would weigh approximately 500 million kilos. And if we compress them into a giant ball, it would measure a little over a kilometer.
If you drink 70 cups of coffee, the massive amount of caffeine will kill you instantly. But just a couple of tablespoons of powdered caffeine could be even more dangerous. Look, a single tablespoon of caffeine powder equals 28 cups of coffee. And in 2019, a man accidentally mixed too much caffeine powder into his drink, the equivalent of more than 200 cups of coffee, causing his heart to start beating extremely fast. The man began foaming at the mouth just before he died.
If you use ChatGPT, always say please and thank you. If artificial intelligence takes over the world, the AI will remember you and won't kill you. If you take a photo and your eyes look red, go to the doctor as fast as possible. A blood vessel in your eye might have exploded. If your nose starts bleeding, never tilt your head backwards. The blood will flow into your throat and you'll get a stomach infection. If it starts raining and you don't want to get wet, don't even think about running since you'll get twice as wet. Instead, walk calmly.
In 2018, a group of friends was exploring a cave in Thailand when suddenly the tunnels flooded with water and they became completely trapped. They were more than 3 kilometers underground and the flooding had filled the cave tunnels with contaminated water. 10 days later, a rescue team found them but faced many difficulties navigating through the tunnel. And tragically, one of the rescuers died during the mission. For this reason, they could not find a way to bring the children out safely. Their last option was to inject a sedative to make them sleep, put a diving mask on them, and carry their unconscious bodies through the tunnels one by one. The 12 children and their coach were successfully rescued after 18 days underground. The bus doors suddenly closed and trapped her backpack, but the driver didn't notice. The bus sped up, dragging her along the road. The girl tried to run to keep up with the speed of the bus, but she lost her balance and fell, being dragged along the asphalt for more than 300 meters. Another driver honked the horn to get the bus driver's attention. The girl suffered from serious injuries and burns all over her body and had to undergo several surgeries. The driver was fired and the parents sued him for being an idiot, but the girl managed to recover and walk again. When the Titanic hit the iceberg, several holes opened on one side of the ship, causing water to flood in. But the ship was designed with special compartments to hold large amounts of water in case of flooding, and if only 4 of those compartments were damaged, the ship could stay afloat. But the iceberg ruptured 6 of them in the front, and they began flooding with water rapidly. This caused the bow of the ship to sink into the sea, which made the rear part of the ship lift into the air. Finally, the middle section couldn't bear the weight and broke in half, and both halves of the ship sank to the bottom of the ocean. A woman gave birth in her car in front of a gas station, but the baby wasn't crying because it was actually blue. The umbilical cord was wrapped around its neck, choking it. Then, a homeless man that was nearby saw what was happening and ran to help. The woman was talking to 911 and the man followed all her instructions. With trembling hands, he removed the cord from the baby's neck. Moments later, the baby began to breathe. An ambulance quickly took them to the hospital. The mother and the baby were safe, but when they returned to the gas station to thank the homeless man, he had vanished without a trace. If someone tries to strangle you with a plastic bag, don't breathe and exhale all the air in your lungs to inflate the bag. If you bite it, it'll pop like a balloon and you'll be able to breathe. If you hear fireworks but you don't see anything in the sky, don't even think about leaving your house. There's a shooting in front of your house and you'll die from a stray bullet. If you're a player in Squid Game, don't team up with really smart people. They'll betray you during the games and you'll die. If you get kidnapped by a group of terrorists, try to make friends with your kidnapper. If you earn his trust, he'll let you go out for air and you'll be able to escape. If a delivery man needs to use the bathroom, make sure he doesn't open any windows. It's a trick criminals use to rob houses at night. If you see a flock of birds flying low to the ground, run away as fast as you can in the same direction. A very strong tornado is about to strike. If you're trapped in a free-falling elevator, don't try to jump at the last second. You'll fall at the same speed as a car and die instantly. If you're trapped in a car underwater and the door won't open, use the headrest to break the window by hitting the corner with it.
How to survive a zombie apocalypse. First, go to the supermarket and buy a hard baguette. Take a big bite and one of your teeth will fall out. Now, go back home and put it under your pillow. At night, the tooth fairy will come looking for it. Now, grab her with your hands and ask her for lots of running machines. She will grant your wish and place all the machines around your house. When the zombies arrive, they will start running non-stop but won't be able to get close. And that's how you can survive a zombie apocalypse.
A plane with 45 passengers crashed in the Andes Mountains back in 1972. Trapped in the freezing snow, the survivors tried to reach out for help, but their attempts failed, and they had almost no food. The days went by quickly, and they were left with no choice but to make a terrible decision. They had to consume the bodies of the passengers who had died in the accident. Finally, 2 months later, 2 of the survivors walked through the cold weather for 10 days, crossing the mountains, finding assistance, and guiding the rescue team to the site of the accident. In the end, only 16 of the 45 passengers managed to survive.
Do this to become famous on TikTok. People love to criticize, and if you make a mistake, everyone will laugh at you. Pretend to be dumb, mispronounce words, and say that Ronaldo is better than Messi. For example, if you say a word wrong, people will comment that you're an idiot and that it's pronounced differently. And anyone who reads the comment will rewatch the video over and over to find the mistake, which is really great for the algorithm, and you'll gain millions of followers.
If you've been kidnapped by a group of terrorists, try to make friends with your kidnapper. If you get him to trust you, he will let you go out for air, and you can escape. If a few gang members are messing with you, get down and ask for forgiveness. It's better that they laugh at you than them cutting off your head. If you're about to put on dirty clothes, but they don't smell bad, don't do it. Your nose has gotten used to the bad smell and can no longer detect the stench, but you really are a pig. If you notice that a thief wants to rob you, go and talk to a random person as if you were your friend. Criminals will only attack you if you are alone. In 2014, a baby stuck a pencil up his nose and somehow pushed it through his nasal passage until he inserted 7 centimeters into his brain. They took him to the hospital immediately, and the doctors had to extract it very carefully while trying not to cause more damage. But the pencil had magically managed to miss all the important nerves and blood vessels, and they were able to remove it without causing any long-term damage.